So I'm going to show you how to achieve this thick and thin lettering effect. The first thing I do, I'm using 3 strands of black floss. The first thing I do is I stitch the entire word with just 3 strands of black floss, and okay, pretend this isn't done yet. And it's just a single back stitch all the way through. And then where I'm going to get the thick part, I'll come in with an air-soluble pen and I'll put it on the downstroke. I don't usually like to use a pen of any sort, I just sort of freehand it, but I want you to see where it's going to go. So this thick, thin calligraphy style, the upstroke stays thin and then the downstroke becomes thick. Upstrokes thin, downstrokes thick. So you can see that's what I've already done over here. This is kind of upstroke, and then it comes down, it's thicker. Down, it's thicker. Up, and then down is thicker. Same thing over here. Thick, thin, thick, thin, thick. So to do that, all you do is get yourself a second round of stitches. So I didn't really finish this L here, so I'll start with that. And you can do back stitch or split back stitch. It doesn't really matter. If you see with back stitch, you can see the bumps, you can see each individual stitch. If you want to smooth out that look, that appearance of each individual stitch, you want to come up in between the stitches. So here's 1 stitch, 2 stitch, 3 stitch. So what I'm going to do, rather than follow that exact same pattern, I'm going to come up in the middle of the second stitch so that I offset it. And same with the next one. So rather than repeat and reinforce those bumps, I'm going to interrupt them by coming up in the middle of the stitch beneath it. You can also split the stitch that you're going back down into. So come up here, and then when I go down, rather than going down where it meets the other stitch, I'm going to actually go down into the floss. And that'll give you a little smoother look as well. It's all a matter of personal preference. There's no right or wrong. Oh, and look what I've done. How fun is that? Okay, well, we're going to interrupt this video for that. Actually, I'll show you what to do. In the event that you stitch your back of your fabric, oh, this one I could have fixed really easily. Didn't even need to take the needle out. You can just cut the fabric a lot of times. Want to be careful you don't cut your floss. There we go. Fix that. Okay, so to finish, you're just going to continue on like this until you've done your second layer. And if you want to make it really dramatic, you can do a 3rd layer. Or you can make your stitches this way, satin stitches, if you want. That feels like a lot of work to me, though. But it depends on the scale of the piece that you're working on, too. If you have a really big piece, you might need to do satin stitches. And then my last one is my S. And the air-soluble pen that I used is, I think, maybe the only one on the market. Fine disappearing ink from Japan. Like I said, though, I prefer not to use anything and just eyeball it. Although I did follow my own pattern, and I put the second outline on the lettering, so I might need to make this last S a tiny bit thicker just to make sure that I go over that. And then the last one is this little swirly Q, because we go down, up, and then down again. So hopefully this gives you some insight into how you can achieve this look with your own words or patterns, names, whatever you want to put inside. These floral pattern designs are perfect for putting anything in the middle, obviously. So maybe you bought it for the tips and you want to give it as a gift, put a name in it. Hopefully this will give you some ideas to how you can see. Now I don't know what's going on here, but I don't like the fact that I can see some white. So I'm just going to stitch again until I can't see that white anymore. The other thing I could do is I could whip the stitches, but I think that might give it a little too much height. There we go.